Stream. Uniquely Mia here. This is a quiet study session we are doing this morning. If you are a returning supporter, thank you so much for returning to the channel. If you are a new supporter, do consider hitting that like button and joining the Uniquely Mia community. Good morning, King of the Weather. How are you doing today? Good morning, guys. Welcome to the stream. This is a quiet study session. You're still sleeping, King of the Weather. Okay, nothing wrong with that. Understandable. So, similar to yesterday, we're going to do some drills. March 26th. That's in my calendar, right? I want to make sure I do. Hey, King of the Weather, just kidding. Oh, you're not sleeping. Welcome to the stream. If you've just tuned in, glad you guys can be here. Uniquely Mia here. It's going to be mostly a quiet study session today. But feel free to leave a comment, and as always, I will respond to it. Wow, you woke up around 5:43 a.m. Okay, early for a Sunday. Good morning. What is that? Angia, welcome from Brazil. Marie, glad you could tune in today. How are you guys doing? Welcome to the stream. If you are a returning supporter, thank you so much for your continued support. If you are a new viewer here, I'm Uniquely Mia, a dual degree grad student studying public administration, criminal justice, and right now it's going to be mostly kind of like quiet study session, going through like some practice problems. So yeah, do consider what is it gonna say? Do consider liking the video, supporting the channel. You're gonna get mostly, I'm not even gonna be typing much, so you'll probably see me writing with my pen. Just gonna do necessary assumptions. But since the people in our town do not know very much about Hector said, you may be right, but what this Okay, so Hector makes a reasoning saying basically public opinion is most important. Public feels okay. Increase in the population of wildfire. So we're saying hybridization is the only means of preventing the total loss of habitat. Which one of the following is human intelligence is not possible without human emotions. So intelligence isn't possible without emotion. A computer is something that can which one of the following assumptions? Earthworms vital to the health of soil prefer soil that is approximately neutral since Which one of the following is an assumption? I'll just call them. Raising the minimum wage to the level recently proposed will actually. Let's see. Okay, we're gonna do blind reveal. Let me read your comments really quickly. Hey, welcome Monica to the stream. Am I doing homework? No, I'm doing like LSAT studying. So, yeah, this is honestly like a quiet study session. In real time, I'm showing you how I generally study off stream. King of the Weather said, hey Monica, hey Francis. Kamori is typing on King of the Weather's phone. King of the Weather said, Mia, question, are you on spring break or no? No, I'm not on spring break. When I was with my mom at home, that was my spring break, King of the Weather. What about you? Are you on spring break? Welcome, Martin, ASMR, zipper sounds. So it's relaxing in case you like the ASMR sound, but zipper sounds. Maybe the pen you were hearing probably, or maybe my jury was making noise. Hey, Christina, welcome, welcome. How are you doing this morning? King of the Weather said, hey, Martin. Hey, Christina. Welcome, Eric. Good morning, Eric. Glad you could tune in. Thank you so much for your kind words. King of the Weather said they're on spring break. Okay, very cool, very cool. What are you doing on spring break this week? This upcoming week. If you are just tuning into the stream, welcome to the channel. This is Unique Lamia's Hand. Unique Lamia is a dual degree graduate student studying public administration and criminal justice. Also post education videos, fashion videos, Udemy technology videos. Check out my most recent education video that was released. I go over the difference between consent and involuntary consent searches that can occur within the criminal justice system. So make sure to watch that video because it can definitely affect you, especially if you have a vehicle, if you have a car, if you are ever stopped by a police officer. Those type of searches can occur during like a general traffic stop. So make sure to watch that video. And if you are a returning supporter, thank you so much for your continued support. Really appreciate you guys. Eric said, I'm leaving work. Just had to train a driver this morning. Wow, you're leaving work early. Wow, so what? Did you like work all through the night, Eric? It's barely day 2 on spring break. Well, enjoy it, King of the Weather. When you look, you're going to be back at school. So have fun on your spring break. King of the Weather said, I did watch the video. I loved it. Oh, thank you so much for watching the video. Glad you enjoyed it. Well, glad you loved it, as you said. Yeah, it was a cool video to film. Like, I like filming criminal justice videos. The thing with me with those videos, it takes a lot of work to film it and a lot of editing behind the scenes goes into like filming and editing those educational videos. So that's why sometimes there's a delay on posting them. Because it's a long process. So now I'm going to go into blind review, so it's going to get quiet. So feel free to continue leaving comments, and then like I did, I'll respond to your comments when I'm done like with these practice problems. So continue to leave the comments, but it's going to get quiet. Enjoy the ASMR sounds, guys.
Hey guys, this is Alex from Ignite Prep, and
I see YouTube. Alright, let me read these. Lucky I tuned in just in time. Went to a birthday party for the first time. Okay, very cool, very cool. How did you like it? King of the Weather said, and I got a girlfriend. Okay, how do you feel about that? King of the Weather. Hello, Kat. Welcome to the stream. King of the Weather said, we had one box of these eggs that had confetti inside them. Oh, that sounds like some cool eggs. Cool. Hello, OTF. How are you doing? Pause off on. What are you saying? Yeah, I don't know what PDD stands for either. You feel good? Okay. So congratulations, King of the Weather, on your girlfriend. It's the glory of God to conceal a matter and the honor of kings and queens to seek it out. So Omen, that essentially means I'm not telling you guys my age. If you want to figure out my age, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I do recommend going and watching my birthday video. My mom took me to Washington, D.C. To find that video, go to the YouTube homepage, click playlist, and watch those videos. And if you pay attention, you will figure out my age. Okay, so we're gonna watch a video and see if this, go through this video again.
It's to the outcome of poor educational results. It's a really important question type because it's a very frequent question type. 11% of all logical reasoning questions are necessary assumption questions. It has a couple of different ways in which it can present itself, and so that makes it a little bit more complex. It's a relatively harder question type for most people when they're preparing for the LSAT.
I'm not really going to be taking notes for this because I took a whole bunch of notes already, so this is just a video to watch it again and see. And then after the video, I'll do another drill on necessary. Why do I wear a lot of rings? Because I like it. That's why. Yeah. Hello, welcome, girl 123. If you want to see me, this video is mostly studying, so you're mostly seeing my hands. You could check out my previous YouTube live videos, my previous YouTube shorts, or full-length traditional YouTube videos if you are eager to see my face.
So how do you spot one? Well, you're looking for language within the question stem that tells you that you have an assumption that is necessary to the argument. So key words that would suggest necessary are very helpful for spotting necessary assumption questions. In this question stem, which one of the following is an assumption on which the argument depends? Well, depends on are words that help identify necessary conditions, and so we can use them to help identify that this question is a necessary assumption question. The reasoning above relies on which one of the following assumptions? Again, relies on tells you necessary. Which one of the following is an assumption required by the argument? Again, required tells us necessary assumption. On this one, the question stem says the conclusion above follows logically only if which one of the following is assumed. And the words only if tell us that we're looking at a necessary condition, and the word assume tells us that it's a necessary assumption. So this one's a little different. It says the argument above presumes which one of the following. It doesn't give you language that suggests either necessity or sufficiency, but we do get the word presumes, so we know it's an assumption question. When you have an assumption question that contains no language for sufficiency or necessity, you want to treat it as default a necessary assumption question. So what's the process that we want to take? Well, necessary assumption questions we want to treat like the other questions in the assumption family. So that's similar to sufficient assumption questions, flaw questions, strengthened questions, weakened questions. Necessary assumption questions are all about first finding the conclusion of the argument, finding the evidence that's used to support that conclusion, evaluating the reasoning, and that means figuring out what's wrong with the argument. We'll often use reasoning structures, conditional logic, causation, and comparison to help us figure that out. We want to use that understanding of the gap in order to anticipate what an answer could sound like, and then hold that idea, that pre-phrase up as we're comparing it against the answer choices so that we can move more quickly through them with an idea in mind, or at least a template, or a possibility in mind of what an answer choice would look like if it was going to provide a necessary assumption to the argument. So there are two formats that we really want to pay attention to in terms of how the answer choice relates back to the argument. There will be a healthy percentage, 41% of arguments, where the right answer works by linking the argument together, where it provides a missing piece within the argument. And another 59% where the answer choice works by defending the argument from something that would be dangerous or devastating to it. So it protects the argument. And these are the two really important ways in which the answer choice can relate back to the argument. We want to keep this in mind as we are looking at answer choices and trying to figure out how does this answer choice provide an assumption of the argument. We always kind of want to think about it in terms of either one of these two frameworks.
Hello,
Because
Katie,
if we're in the
welcome.
linking framework, we're expecting to see statements in the argument that have repeated terms, potentially conditional logic, ideas that can link together. And that might give us a tip that what we're looking for in the answer choices is also a linking idea. Whereas if we're looking at the argument on a defending model, we won't necessarily be able to see an obvious gap internal to the argument. And so that's when we'll want to start to think outside of the box, outside of the argument. What else didn't it consider that maybe it should have? In the first format, when we're looking for the missing link within the argument, we want to think of the argument as a journey, let's say from point A to point D. And some segments of that journey have roads that have already been built and they're ready to go. So in this case, we have a journey from point A to point D, and the segments of the journey A to B and C to D have already been established. Now, since conclusion is the complete.
Let's see. I found an article I'm reading, guys, about it. 1 second. On Khan Academy. See something. Is Khan Academy, is that still open? Didn't they shut that down? Where the hell's that? Let me see. too. I see what they got. Okay, so I got videos. They don't have practice problems anymore. Okay. King of the Weather said, I'm playing Roblox. Still gonna be here. Alright, thank you. Thank you so much for the support, King of the Weather. Hello. What is that? I can't even see. Hey V, what's up with you? Is this real lives? Is this real life? Yes. Hey Aiden. Does she talk? Hey Aiden, what you doing? I'm doing some LSAT studying right now. How are you doing? Hello 077. How are you doing? Hello Alan, glad you could tune in.
Journey. The assumption is the missing link that will allow the journey to be completed. And in this case, it's if B, then C. Linking assumptions work by finding the gap within the argument and then presenting it in the answer choice. So let's take this into a real world example. Let's suppose we're trying to prove that if we trim off all the rhino horns, we will ensure that rhinos survive. Well, if we have the evidence that says if we trim off all the rhino horns, we will eliminate the threat of poaching, what do we need to provide in order to bridge the gap to the conclusion? Well, in this case, we want to provide the idea that if we eliminate the threat of poaching, we will ensure that rhinos survive. This gives us both segments or both pieces of the journey that we need to put together in order for the conclusion to follow. Now let's take that idea and apply it in a real LSAT question. What we want.
I'm from the United States. Funny. Hello. E-Money. Fam, what did you say? Stopping through the show, some love support. Thank you so much for stopping through. Really appreciate it. Hopefully you have a great day today, and do consider hitting that like button and becoming a supporter. How are you doing today? The funny, or not even the, what is that? Fleet funny. My phone is set up weird, guys, so I'm seeing like the end and part of your usernames, not like the whole thing. All right. Hello, Hassan. How are you doing? 077 said, "Ayo, can you can talk in guy voice, crazy talent, huh? What do you mean by that? Are you saying my voice sounds like a guy voice? I mean, maybe where you're from, but not in where I'm from. My voice sounds like uniquely me, guys." I'm from the United States. Where are you from? Okay, let's do this. Which one of the following is an argument?
What I want to do is practice the steps where we find the conclusion, find the evidence for why it's true, evaluate the reasoning, understand what's wrong with the argument, use that understanding to anticipate what an answer could sound like, and then work through the answer choices using trap answer patterns, common to necessary assumption questions in order to make eliminations. All right, take a second to try this question on your own, and when you think you've got an answer that you like, go ahead and hit play again, and we'll review it together. All right, welcome back. So let's start by identifying that this is a necessary assumption question, and you can do that in the question stem where it says that we're looking for an assumption required by the argument. So when we come back to the argument to try to figure out what's wrong with it, let's start with the conclusion. And we're going to look for language cues that suggest the organization of the argument. In this case, we actually get a couple. So we have the word since in that last sentence of the argument. Since the muscles on opposite sides of the spine must pull equally in opposing directions to keep the back in proper alignment and protect the spine. That since is introducing evidence. So we know that the last clause there is support for something. Well, what is it supporting? The part that comes right before it. It's supporting the point that balanced muscle development is needed to maintain a healthy back. But right before that, we get another language cue, after all. And after all also provides support. So this is one of those arguments where we actually have a premise, an intermediate conclusion, and a main conclusion. We can look at the arguments separately. First, by looking at the intermediate argument, which is, in that case, the argument's conclusion would be, to have a healthy back, you need balanced muscles. And we can see that with the word needed, right? Balanced muscle development is needed, right? So we know we need balanced muscles in order to have a healthy back. The evidence for this claim is that the muscles on opposite sides of the spine must pull equally in opposing directions. That word must pull equally, right? So these muscles must pull on opposite sides of the spine equally in order to do something. In order to do what? Well, in order to keep the back in proper alignment. So if we're gonna have proper alignment, then we need to, the muscles to pull on opposite sides equally. So if we look at this argument, there's nothing consistent between the premise and the conclusion. We have 4 unique terms in the 2 relationships, both in the premise and the conclusion. But that makes it really hard to solve for the missing gap. Usually you want at least one of the terms to be connected between a premise and a conclusion. When you've got 4 unique terms like this, it's going to be really difficult to come up with a bridge to get you across that gap. So let's look at the main argument here, which is when exercising the muscles in one's back, it is important in order to maintain a healthy back to exercise the muscles on opposite sides of the spine equally. Okay? Well, in order to what? In order to maintain a healthy back. So what is necessary to maintain a healthy back? Well, exercising the muscles on opposite sides of the spine equally. All right, so what's the evidence for that? Well, that's the intermediate conclusion here, which is that balanced muscle development is needed to maintain a healthy back. Notice in this main argument, we actually have a term that lines up in the conclusion and in the evidence, the idea of a healthy back. The unconnected terms, balanced muscles and muscles or pulling on opposite sides of the spine equally, those 2 terms are yet to be connected, but the idea that we've got at least one term in common between the intermediate conclusion and the main conclusion is very helpful. So if we want to go solve for the missing piece, the link inside of this argument, we want to connect the unconnected terms, and the assumption is that if we're going to have balanced muscles, we need to have them pulling on opposite sides of the spine equally. So now that we've found the gap in the reasoning, we can anticipate what the answer is going to sound like. It's going to sound like this missing link. So we really want to find an answer that connects balanced muscles with those that pull on opposite sides of the spine equally. Let's take a look at answer choice A. Muscles on opposite sides of the spine that are equally well developed will be enough to keep the back in proper alignment. Well, the terms that are being connected here are between muscles that are equally well developed or balanced muscles and keeping the back in proper alignment. So they're saying that if we have balanced muscles, that will be enough to ensure that we have proper alignment. Now, this is building a bridge to nowhere. The idea of proper alignment is in the premise. It's not in the intermediate conclusion or in the main conclusion. So this is building a relationship between 2 terms from the argument, but not ones that will help us bridge the gap in this argument. So this is an irrelevant relationship. Answer choice B says that exercising the muscles on opposite sides of the spine unequally tends to lead to unbalanced muscle development. Well, this is building a relationship between exercising the muscles on opposite sides of the spine unequally. So if we're not doing it equally, then that tends to lead to unbalanced muscle development. So we're not going to have balanced muscles. So this is building a bridge between 2 terms that we wanted to build a bridge between in our pre-phrase of the assumption, but it does it in a way that looks a little different. Now, we can take the contrapositive of this relationship that's presented in answer choice B, And the contrapositive means that we're gonna flip the terms on what was on the left side of the relationship, we're gonna put on the right. What was on the right side of the relationship, we're gonna put on the left. Everything that's a negative is gonna become a positive, and we'll have a contrapositive. And the contrapositive now all of a sudden looks exactly like what we were looking for. So this looks like a contender. Let's hold on to answer choice B. Answer choice C says, provided that one exercises the muscles on opposite sides of the spine equally, one will have a generally healthy back. So this is building a bridge between opposite sides of the spine equally and having a healthy back. And so if you do exercise the opposite sides equally, then you'll have a healthy back. The relationship that's being presented in answer choice C is connecting the terms that are already presented in the conclusion of the main argument. But it does it in a way that's reversed of the relationship in the conclusion. So this has got the right terms, but it has the wrong relationship, and it's not going at the gap in the argument, it's going directly at the conclusion itself. Regardless, this gets the relationship backwards, and so we're gonna call this wrong because it's a reversal. D says, if the muscles on opposite sides of the spine are exercised unequally, one's back will be irreparably damaged. Well, if we look at this idea, we might be able to make a case, but it won't be very strong. This is a relationship, and it's a relationship between exercising the muscles on opposite sides unequally, and having a back that will be irreparably damaged. I could imagine someone taking that idea of irreparably damaged and saying, okay, well, they're not gonna have a healthy back. So if I substitute the idea of not having a healthy back, so if you don't exercise the opposite sides equally, you don't have a healthy back. Now, if you take the contrapositive of that, now you end up with something that looks just like the conclusion. Now, this is still not the right answer because all we're doing is presenting an idea that mimics the conclusion. It's not providing the assumption of the argument. More important than that, we failed to pay attention to a degree shift. Right? The idea that one would have a back that is irreparably damaged does suggest that one does not have a healthy back. But irreparably damaged is much stronger than the idea of not having a healthy back. It says irreparably damaged. So that means that it can never be fixed. And the idea of a healthy back doesn't include that same level of permanence. So the idea presented in answer choice D is close, but it's much stronger than what we need. And on necessary assumption questions, we need to watch out for answer choices that go beyond what we need to assume. So,
hello, Pixel. That's Pinky. Hey, Pinky. Glad you could tune in. Say me a car for an edit. What's a car that I haven't named? I always use BMW. I don't know. Anyone, guys. Welcome, Muhammad. Glad you could tune in. King of the Weather. Love the cat emojis. Hello. What's your name? Welcome, A. Glad you could tune in today. All right. Oh, Kamori's typing King of the Weather. Okay, hello Kamori, glad you could tune in. I don't speak cat language, so hopefully you understand me. Which one of the following is an assumption required by the argument? Okay. Therefore, since welcome, not WG. Not, how do you say that? I'm gonna see if I can say your full name. And never mind, Siri can't even say it. But welcome. I wouldn't say it's a great Sunday, but it's going Sunday. Hopefully you have a great Sunday. Welcome, Bold. Can I be a moderator? Can I have mods? No, I'm not doing moderators right now. Oh, it's Nutwig, even though there's no I. Okay. Thank you for that though. Thanks. Nutwig said it's just better to call me Nut. Okay, it's supposed to be Tub. Oh, I'll just call you Nut. Yeah, because I can't. I don't want to mispronounce your name, and like I don't think I have an accent, but when I try saying your unique usernames, my accent comes out, and it's hindering me from saying it correctly. But glad you could tune into the stream. Really appreciate you guys for being here. It's really quiet because I'm doing like practice problems, drills. I do read my textbook too throughout the day, but yeah, this is just literally the practice problem I'm trying to do. So hopefully it benefits me. So that's what we're doing now. That's why it's mostly quiet. Sometimes I'll try to verbalize what I'm saying, but I have to practice not verbalizing because on the test you're able to whisper to yourself, but you can't like speak out loud. So that's what I'm mostly doing when I'm going over these drills. I really should add another T to your name. Well, if you want and if you don't know how to do that, check out my YouTube video. I made a video essentially telling you guys or showing you guys how to change your YouTube username if you want to do that. So definitely check out my video on that. Weather said I'm just watching Franklin and Friends on TV right now. Okay. Alright, cat sleeping on your shoulder. Cool, cool. Very cool. So I'm gonna end the stream here, guys. I'm gonna continue doing some drills. I'm also going to attend a live class that I saw they had later on. So hopefully you enjoyed this stream. I know it was just mostly like you guys watching my hands type and me answering questions. So I really appreciate the support. Please consider hitting that like button. Do consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And I'll be back with more videos soon. Bye guys. Thanks for watching.